Hey there, students. So in this video today, we're going to go over fixed costs. Now earlier, we talked about variable costs, materials, labor, variable overhead. Now, remember with variable costs, when you produce more cars, your total variable cost goes up. It's a little different with fixed costs. So to give you a brief example here, let's say you produce more cars, but what happens with fixed costs? Fixed costs don't change. So the more cars you produce, that fixed cost in total will just stay the same. So some examples here would be equipment, insurance, rent, manager's salary, right? Because the more you produce, these costs don't really change, right? You can produce 1,000 cars, but you're still paying that manager the same salary, right? That's a fixed cost. It doesn't change in total. Now, also factory depreciation. Usually depreciation stays the same each month, no matter how many cars you produce. So let's talk about something here. This is called relevant range. Now, this concept will be revisited later on in a few chapters. So if you don't get it right now, that's okay. But I want to introduce you to it. What is the relevant range? Well, let me give you some examples. So let's say that you produce between 1 and 100 cars. To do that, you're going to need one machine to do it. To produce up to 100 cars, you need one machine. Now, if you want to produce an extra 100 cars, between 101 and 200 cars, it's going to take you two machines to do it, right? That makes sense because 100 cars takes one machine, so if you want to do 200 cars, it'll take you two machines. And then up to 300 cars, you're going to need three machines. This is important. Now each machine is a fixed cost. Now this is called the relevant range because what's happening is that within 100 cars, so between 1 and 100, your fixed costs don't change. But what happens now if you want to produce over 100? Between 101 and 200 cars, your fixed costs will go up, right? Because you need two machines now. And then if you want to produce between 201 and 300 cars, now you need three machines. So as you can see, within a certain range, your fixed costs won't change. But when you get outside of that range, that's when your fixed costs go up. Let me show you in a little graph here what I mean. So this is the relevant range here. This is how it works. I'm going to set you up here. On the bottom are the X line is units produced. Now on the Y axis here will be your costs, your fixed costs. So we'll start with $0 here. Let me just set this up. We'll keep going up by 200. And on the x-axis here will be your units produced. Okay, so let's take a look here. Now, at the $200 mark, at zero cars produced, right? It's going to take you one machine to do it. Now, assuming that each machine costs $200, right? Because right now you have 0 cars you produced, so you just have one machine. So between 0 and 100 cars, all you need is one machine, and it's going to cost you $200. But now let's say you want to produce between 100 and 200 cars. What's going to happen is your costs go up. So now your fixed costs are $400 because you need two machines, right? Now what happens if you want to produce between 200 and 300 cars? You're going to need to add an extra machine, and that's going to cost you more money in fixed costs. That's kind of how it works. Once again, each machine costs $200, so keep rising as you produce more cars within certain ranges. 0 and 100, one machine. 101 to 200 cars, two machines. 201 to 300 cars, three machines. Rewind this part if you need to. It's really important that you understand the relevant range. The idea here is overall, Fixed costs don't change in total unless you get out of that range and you go higher and higher where you need extra machines to do the work. So hopefully that was helpful. That's fixed costs in a nutshell. Once again, in total, fixed costs usually don't change. However, with production, sometimes you need to increase your fixed costs to produce more. Within certain ranges, that fixed cost won't change. But once you get out of that range, say you need to produce more cars outside of that range, your fixed costs will go up. That's a tricky concept. Once again, we're going to revisit that a little later in a few chapters. So thanks for watching today. I'll see you in the next video.